So, last time we have seen few examples of a complete and incomplete metric space, and one of that example was a rational number q is an incomplete metric space in R with the usual topology. But this rational number has a characteristic that the closure of this is R, that is, it is a dense in R. So, this suggests a way to convert an incomplete metric space to a complete metric space, and this requires the definition or the concepts of the isometric mappings. So, before going for the result for completion, we will see the how to define the isometric mappings. Isometric mapping, isometric spaces. Let x d and by d, x d and by d bar, we say two metric spaces and T is a mapping from metric space x d to metric space y d bar. Now, this mapping T is said to be isometric, or an isometry if it preserves the distances. That is, the meaning of this is that the distance of T x T y under the metric d bar is the same as the distance between x and y, then we say this mapping T is an isometric or isometry from one metric to another metric space. Okay. Now, in addition to this, if the mapping T, if in addition to this, the mapping T, is also 1 1 and onto, that is a bijective mapping. 1 1 map onto mapping from x to y, then we say two metric spaces are isometric spaces, are isometric. That is a mapping from one matrix to another matrix, which is 1 1 onto and preserve the metric also, then these two metrics are said to be isometric metric. Okay. So, basically when we have a isometric mapping or two spaces are isometric, then the nature of the elements may different. Here the elements points are different, here the points are different, but what is important part is there is a 1 to 1 correspondence, 1 1 onto mapping T, and if we pick up any 2 point here and find out the distance, the corresponding images here will have the same length distance here between T x and T y. So, whatever the properties regarding the convergence, coachiness, etc. required, that retains or the property which involves the metric concepts will remain the same. So, they are basically considered as a carbon copy to each other, though the points are different, but so far the properties, metric properties are concerned, they behave more or less the same sets. Okay. So, this is the one advantage of this. Now, examples are say C01 and CAB, these are isometric spaces. You can define the mapping T. Suppose I define a mapping such that T goes to T minus A over B minus A. So, the transferred A to 0, B to 1. So, interval A B is transferred to 0 1 interval, and this mapping is a 1 1 mapping on 2 mapping. Okay. And if we define the distance as the maximum distance, then you will see both will have the same distances. Okay. So, this map in two spaces are isometric spaces. Then another concept which we require is homeomorphism. This is a new concept, homeomorphism. A homeomorphism is a continuous bijective mapping T from x to y whose inverse is continuous. It means the mapping from one metric space to another metric space, which is 1 1 on 2, continuous and inverse is also continuous, then such a mapping is called the homeomorphism mapping from one matrix to another. And if this two spaces are said to be homeomorphic spaces. Okay. The metric spaces x by x d by d bar, these are said to be by d are said to be homeomorphic metric spaces. Okay. Again here we give one example, say suppose I take r and 0, x is r, y is minus 1 to 1, and define a mapping T from this to this as x to 2 y by pi tan inverse x, r tan inverse way. X is a map, R is a metric space under the usual matrix, by is an open interval again is part of R, and the same metric dx by we can define as the usual metric. Then if we define a mapping T which transfer x to 2 by pi tan inverse x, then minus infinity to infinity is transferred to minus 1 to 1. When x is minus infinity, tan inverse minus pi by 2. So, this becomes minus 1, and when it is infinity. So, when x tends to pi by 2, it goes to infinity. So, it tends to 1. So, it is open interval minus 1 to 1. Now, this mapping T is a continuous mapping. Okay. When we take the inverse, what is the inverse? inverse will be equal to what? Pi by 2 tan x, tan of pi by 2 by. So, this is the inverse mapping T inverse y, suppose this is equal to y, is it not? So, we can write the inverse of mapping is T inverse y, okay. That will be equal to from here, because this will be 2 over pi tan inverse x is y. So, we can write x equal to pi by 2 by and tan of this, clear. So, accordingly you can get, again this is a continuous function. So, both T and T inverse are continuous, okay. It is 1 1 on 2 mapping, 1 1 on 2 continuous, therefore, this is a homeomorphic. Now, one thing which we observed here in this, that in case of the homeomorphic mapping, you are getting a mapping T from complete metric to an incomplete metric space. It means, in case of the homeomorphic mapping, it is not required or it is not necessary that only the complete metric will transfer to the complete metric. Okay? But in case of the isometric mapping, this is true. If the two spaces are isometric, then similar type of Cauchy sequences will behave in the other matrix, and we have the corresponding properties of the metric in same as in one or second. Okay. So, that is two difference. Now, the question is, if suppose we have a incomplete metric space, how to convert it into a complete metric space, and that is known as the completion of the metric space. So, we go for the completion as completion of a metric space. Here we will simply give a way, okay, how to write. Suppose we have a metric x d, x d be a metric space, be an incomplete metric space, be an incomplete metric space, then corresponding to this axis, then there exists a complete metric space x delta, which is equal to say x delta d delta, this is say x, there corresponding to each incomplete metric space there exists a complete metric space x delta, which has a subspace, subspace W, that is this is a subspace W, which has a subspace W that is isometric with x, that is we can find out a mapping from x to W, which is 1 1 on 2 and preserve the distance, preserve the distances. An isometric with x, which is isometric with x and is dense in x delta, that is W bar is equal to x delta. So, what is that? If x be an incomplete metric space, then one can always find out a complete metric of x such that there will be a subspace W available in this space x hat, which is isometric with x, and this W is dense in x hat. For example, if I replace x by q, a set of rational number, then corresponding to that q, we can always get a complete metric R, which has a subspace W, that is q, isometric with X, that is Q itself, and closure of Q is R. Okay. Now, this is unique. Corresponding to each X, we get one and only one X except for isometry. It means this is a that is okay. This space X head which you are getting is unique. Corresponding to each incomplete way, we get one and only one X head except for isometries. What do you mean by this is, except for isometry means, that is, if we suppose there is another metric X head which is a completion of X, then it has a W head isometric with this, dense in it, then these two spaces X head and X will also be isometric. So, we can say this space X head is unique except for isometry, that is, if X head is any complete metric space having a dense subspace W head isometric with X, then X head and X delta are isometric. That is the meaning of this. We repeat again what we say, that we are getting suppose this is an incomplete metric space. Okay. This is an incomplete metric space. What this result says, that corresponding to each incomplete metric space, we can always find a complete metric space. In such a way that it has a W, subspace W, which is dense in it and isometric with X. Okay. And this space X delta which you get is unique except under isometry, that is, if there exists another metric X head which is also a complete metric space corresponding to X, then this X head and X delta must be isometric, so that we can not get a different one, because once you take the two spaces are isometric, the elements may be of different nature, but their metric properties remains the same. So, that is why it will be unique always. Okay? That is clear. So, this now, this almost completing, we are completed almost all the concepts. Now, we will take a few here problems which gives you further emphasis on these concepts, and one of them is the concept on separable matrix. So, we have one problem here. What this problem says, that if X d is a separable metric space and by is a subspace of X, then by d bar is separable in the induced metric d bar. What this problem is, that suppose we have X d which is a given to be a separable metric space. Now, if I take a subset by subspace by of X, then what is the guarantee that this subspace under the restricted metric is also separable. Okay. But what this problem says, that if we have a subspace, then this subspace has to be separable under the induced metric D bar. Induced metric means that when I restrict the D on by cross by, then it must be D bar, that is the distance of by 1 comma by 2 is the same as by 1 and by 2. So, bar by 1 and by 2 belongs to capital Y. If the points are in by 1 and points are in Y, then both these metric D bar and D will give the same distance. But if the points are in X, then these values may not be same. So, what it says is, if X be a complete is a separable metric space, then its subspace under the induced metric will also be separable. So, what is required to prove is that this by under the metric D bar must have a countable subset which is dense in by. Okay. So, let us see the proof line. It is given that X D be a separable metric space. It means there will be a set E, it has a countable subset E which is dense in this, say suppose x 1, x 2, x n etcetera. This is the countable subsets of X which is dense in X by definition. Okay. Now, if this set E is contained inside completely Y, then our problem is solved, because then E is also countable as well as dense in Y. So, there is nothing to prove, Y will itself be as separable. But if the elements of E partly lies outside of the Y, that is some points are here, some are inside, okay, then you cannot say that E can be treated as a countable dense subset of Y. So, what we have to do is, we have to find out the points in Y, a sequence of the points in Y which is a dense which forms a dense subspace of Y. So, our aim is to find a sequence by NM of the elements of Y such that this is dense and countable. It is countable and dense in Y. Okay. So, that is how to get this one. Let us suppose this is our X D and here it is Y. These are the points of x 1, x 2, x n. Here this is E which is x 1, x 2, x n and so on. Okay. Now, for a positive integer n, n m, let us find out a ball centered at x n and with a radius say 1 by m. This is 1 by m radius. Okay. So, we get a set U n m centered at x n and radius 1 by m. Around each point you are getting like this, okay, of x 1, x 2, x n. Now, some of them will intersect by and some of them may not intersect also, because all the points are not inside by, even they are not a boundary point also. So, with suitable n m you can get some of these balls will definitely intersect. So, once they intersect, you pick up the point from here, say by 1 by 2 by n, which is the common point of this ball as well as by. So, what we did is that around the point x n we have draw the ball, okay, which centered 1 by m, and this ball when it intersect with by, okay, then you can pick up a point by n m. So, with x 1 you are drawing a ball with a radius 1 by m, pick up a point by 1 m. With x 2 you draw the ball 1 by m, pick up a point by 2 m. Now, this by 1 m by 2 m all may not be available. So, some may be in empty also set, means which are. So, in that case you are not able to get, but at least you can get a sequence by n 1 by 1 n by 2 m etcetera, which you get a sequence like this by 1 m by 2 m and so on. These are the points common in by as well as u n m. Is it correct? This. Now, these points, if you remember, these are basically the points in this ball centered at x n with a radius 1 by m, and x 1, x 2, x n is already given to be countable. It means these balls are countable in number. Now, some of the balls do not intersect with by. So, remove those balls, remaining ball will remain still countable. Therefore, the by n by 1 m by 2 m etcetera, this form a countable set. Agreed? Okay. And these are the points of by. Is it correct? So, we get like this, that first draw the ball, then find out its intersection with by. If it is not empty, then pick up the point and then form a sequence, and this sequence obviously be a countable set, okay, of by. So, this. Now, we are now interested to show that this sequence is not only countable in by, but also dense in by. If I color black, huh? Okay. This is also dense in by. We wanted to show this is dense in by. Okay. So, how to prove the dense in by means, if this is a set by, this is our x, and here this is by, and these are the balls, these are the balls, okay, like this, where these by 1, by 2, by 1 m, by n m are situated. Okay. Now, if you want this to be, this points set is a dense in by, it means you take any arbitrary point by. Okay. So, if we take any arbitrary point by in by, if we draw a ball around the point by with a radius say r, then this ball must contain, at least some point of by n m, then it becomes dense. Okay. So, let us take a point by and a suitable radius r, then draw the ball and pick up m so large, so that this will satisfy the condition. Okay. So, if I take a ball around the point by with a radius 1 by m, then since x 1, x 2, x n these are dense in x, okay, so they are also scattered in by. So, some of the xi's will be available in this ball. Let one of these xi's say x n, okay, call it that point to be x n. So, let x n be a point available here with lies inside a ball centered by and radius 1 by m. So, x n will be this, but x n centered with radius 1 by m is a u m m, okay, u n m. So, basically the intersection of by n m in u m is the element of by. So, by belongs to this class as well as x n this. Okay. Now, let us take the distance from by to a point by n m. So, this will be equal to d of by x n plus d of x n x m by just triangular inequality. Now, x n belongs to this ball, it means its distance from by centered by any arbitrary point will remain less than 1 by m. So, this is 1 by m, this is also 1 by m. So, total becomes, and since m is so large that it is r by 2. So, it becomes r. It means, if we draw the ball around the point by with the radius r, then it includes the point by n m. Okay. Therefore, by n m will be dense in this. Okay. Or you can say otherwise, if you take by 1 by 2 by n, draw the ball, you can get a point, arbitrary point by, clear, and this is arbitrary. Therefore, by n m belongs to this ball centered by radius r, hence this will be a dense. Okay. So, any subspace of a separable metric space is also separable under the induced metric. Clear? I think it's clear or in it. Okay. Now, another results which also important, and that is known as the Bayes theorem. What this result says is that if suppose we have a metric space X D, this is our metric space X D, and suppose there are finite number of dense open subsets, means suppose D 1 is dense, that is D 1 closure is X, D 2 is also dense, D n is also dense, means there are so many dense space subspaces of X can be obtained. Now, what about the intersection of D I is 1 to n? Will this be also a dense in X? This is the question. Okay. One thing. Second one, if we take a countable number of dense sets of X and then find the countable intersection, whether this countable intersection say D 1, whether this will also be a dense set in X. So, these two questions are answered by Bayes. So, what Bayes told that whether X is a complete metric space or incomplete metric space, if there are finite number of the dense subspaces of X, then the finite intersection of those dense subspace will also be a dense subset, and these are open, dense open subset. These are dense open subsets, remember, openness is also important. Okay. However, if I do not take X to be a complete metric space, then this result in general not true. This is true in general, but if we take an arbitrary intersection of the dense open subset of a metric space X, then the arbitrary intersection of the dense open subset need not be a dense in X. Okay. But if X to be a complete metric space, then this result will hold if X is complete. Okay. So, that is very interesting result in the sense that one can without any hitch take the sequence of the denseness, find out the intersection, and it will guarantee that there will be a dense subspace available, that is it will be non-empty. We can always get the closure will be entire space X. So, that is the proof runs like this. Let us take the finite first case when X is incomplete metric space and D 1, D 2, D n be a dense open subset of X. So, by the property each one closure will be X by this. Okay. Now, let us take a point X and R not a positive number. Draw the ball around the point X naught with a radius say R naught. Since D 1 is dense in X, so it means the point of this ball and the point of D 1 are very close, because it is dense in X. So, we can find out identify a point say X 1 inside this ball, which is the intersection of D 1 intersection U naught, okay, which is available because D 1 is dense and U naught is an open ball. So, we can find a point X 1 which is common to D 1 and U naught. Now, further D 1 is open, U naught is also open. So, intersection of the open set is open. So, it means we can draw the ball around the point X 1 with a radius, suitable radius say R 1, which is totally contained inside it. So, we can get the ball X 1 by 1 which is totally contained inside it. Okay. Is it clear? Then once you have continue this process inductively, take another, so that at the nth step what you get it, you are drawing a ball centered at x n minus 1 with a radius r n minus 1, and this ball has and the d n because it is dense. So, intersection part will be non-empty and it is open. So, it will get a one point x n will be available and a ball u n around this which is totally contained inside it. Okay. So, continue this way. Now, let us take the x n plus 1 in this elements, okay, and then corresponding ball be obtained un plus 1 center direction and so on. Now, since x 1, x 2, x n, these are the points in x, r 1, r 2, r n suitably in this. So, if you find the intersection of these balls, what happened? The intersection of these balls basically is contained in this this intersection x naught will contain the point x n, and intersection will be non-empty, because every time this ball you are getting again intersection. So, you are getting again ball which get the point x 2, similarly x n. So, when you take the intersection with u naught, you will get a point x n available, that is non-empty. So, whether x is complete or incomplete altimeter, we get the intersection of the dense open sets will remain dense. Okay? That is clear, always be available. Clear. In case if it is complete, if suppose x is a complete space, then even arbitrary intersection of the dense open set will be dense. So, this we have seen. Suppose it is complete, let us take a sequence x n and a r n, the same procedure as we defined, but it is a decreasing nature, and choose r m such that it is less than 1 by m. Okay. Now, let us pick up the 2 point in x n and x m in ball centered at x m and radius r n. Then what is the distance? This x n x m plus x m x n. Now, this is less than r m, this is less than r m, so 2 times r m, and this will be less than 2 by m. So, when m is sufficiently large, this distance is tending to 0. It means the sequence x n is a Cauchy sequence, but x is complete. So, it must converge and converge to the point x in x. So, we are getting a point x which belongs to the closure. Okay. So, this belongs to closure means it is in the contained in d m u ball, and from here one can say it belongs to the intersection, hence this is not empty. Okay. So, we get the intersection of this is dense. So, is it okay? So, this part will be clear. I think this is okay. I will just put it this again, so that you can go through. Okay. This is the first sheets. Clear? Then again balls are obtained, intersection these and this thing. So, finite case is over, and then for the if x is complete sequence, find a sequence like previous way r n previously, only restriction is this, okay, and then you can find out the points, so that this is a Cauchy sequence, and then limiting point is available. So, we get a sequence, okay. And once you get this, then it belongs to the intersection. So, it will be arbitrary, because x naught is arbitrary and r naught is also arbitrary, therefore, this will be a dense set. Now, what is the, if we are taking x to be an incomplete metric space, then this result does not hold good. It means, in case of a incomplete metric space, the arbitrary intersection of the dense set need not be dense. So, this is like this. Suppose we have a set x, which is suppose I take the set q 1 q 2 q n of rational numbers x with metric induced by the usual metric set of rational number. So, it is an incomplete set. Okay. Now, let us find out a d 1 d 2 d n as x minus q n, that is you are constructing d 1 as x minus q 1, d 2 as x minus q 2. So, basically this is the real line, and here are this q 1, q 2, q n and so on. So, these are rational numbers incomplete. Now, what we are doing is we are taking a d 1 where this portion is removed, and rest of the things I am taking including all irrational points also, because x minus q 1, x is r, x minus x is q 1, q 2, q n, okay, x minus this. Now, this will be dense in open in x, okay, and it will be in open in x, and each intersection will be empty. Why it is empty? Because here is q 1 is not available, here q 2 is not available. So, when you take the intersection part, it will come out to be the empty set. So, this is the arbitrary intersection comes out to be empty, not a non-empty set. Okay. So, we can conclude that in a complete metric space, if a complete metric space is a countable union of its subset, then the closure of at least one such subset must have non-empty integer. That is what it is. Okay. So, these two examples, which though it is given in the form of the example, but both are very interesting results, and it will be used, particularly the Weyer's theorem, it will be used. Okay. Now, let us take few problems now, where we can give. What is the equivalent matrix? How to define the matrix? Suppose there are two sets of X is a one metric space over which the two metrics are defined D 1 and D 2. Then we have to compare that matrix, suppose. Then how will you say that with one metric x d 1 and with another metric x d 2, what is the difference? Whether any sequence, if we take any sequence converging in with respect to one metric, whether it converges to the other metric or not, and vice versa, or one way it is true or both ways is true. So, this brings the concept of the stronger and weaker metric spaces, because once a set is fixed, but the two different metrics are given, then we can compare their properties by saying that whether it is a stronger metric or weaker metric. And we define the stronger and weaker metric is a metric D is stronger than D dash if for any x and for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta such that the open ball centered at x and radius delta is under the metric D is contained in this. What is the meaning of this? Let us see. Suppose this is a metric x with a metric D, this is a metric x with metric D dash, metric space. We say D is stronger than D dash. D dash is stronger than D. It means, if I take a point x belonging to x and draw the ball centered at x and radius delta, open ball centered at x and radius delta under the metric D. So, basically this is the elements by whose distance from x y is less than delta. This is the open ball, okay. And then draw the ball centered at x and with the radius epsilon under the metric D dash. So, this is the z such that D of z x is less than epsilon. Now, these two balls are there centered at x, and one is this, another one is this. Okay? This is radius. Now, what he says is that if this ball is totally contained inside this ball, epsilon ball, okay, this is the u d, this is the u d dash, then we say this metric is stronger than this. Why? Because a ball which this ball contains this one, it means this behaves as a neighborhood of this. So, if any sequence converges in this metric, then that sequence has to converge under this metric. Okay. So, we can say in case of the stronger convergence, if x n converges to x, then x n has to converge in the D. So, in rough sense you can say the two metrics are given, then D is said to be stronger than D dash if a sequence x n converges in D must implies x n converges to D dash, and a strong convergence implies the weak. If a sequence converges in the strong metric, it has to converge in the weak metric. Okay. So, that is a okay. Now, let us see these problems. This the problem first is, if A is a subspace of L infinity consisting of all sequences of zeros and 1, what is the induced metric? What is the induced metric? L infinity is the set of those sequences x which are bounded, is it not? Which are bounded. And what is A? A is a sequence which are either 0 or 1, where xi's are 0 or 1. So, basically A is a subset of L infinity. What is the distance between this? Say, suppose I take A here, then what is the distance between A B in A? That is the supremum of xi minus eta I, and that will be 0 if A is equal to B and 1 if A is not equal to B, is it not? So, because if the terms of the sequence in A either 0 or 1, so supremum value will be either 0 if all terms are equal, or if any at one point it differs, the value will be 1. So, is it not a discrete metric? What is the discrete metric? If A is equal to B, the value of the discrete give 0. If an A differs B, the under discrete it is 1. So, basically the over A, if I introduce a metric, a discrete metric, it will coincide with the induced metric of L infinity, does it not? So, what is the induced metric? Is the discrete metric, clear? Then second example is, so that the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality implies this. What is the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality? Do you remember? Sigma xi eta I is 1 to n, suppose, is less than equal to sigma xi square under root sigma mod eta I square under root, is it not? Clear? Now, if I take eta I to be 1, then what is this? Is it not the left hand side? Sigma mod xi square कर लो 1 to n, take the square. Okay. So, what is the right hand side? This is sigma xi square, I is 1 to n, and what is this? Each one is 1. So, is it not n? So, you are getting this. Okay. Clear? So, we are getting this. Now, what it says is, hence or otherwise, so the metric space defined on this are equivalent metric. The two metrics D1 and D2 are said to be equivalent matrix if there exist constants, alpha and beta such that d2 x by is greater than equal to alpha times d1 x by is less than equal to beta times d2 x by. Let x d be a metric space, x d1 and x d2 be the metric spaces, means d1 and d2 are the two metrics defined on x. We said d1 and d2 are equivalent metrics. Strong and weaker is different. Equivalent matrix means this condition has to be satisfied. That is, there exists constant such that d2 x by lies between alpha times d1 and beta times of d1. Sorry, this is d1. Okay? Clear? So, what it says is that if we take x to be R2, x is equal to R2. two dimensional space and define, that is the elements is x 1 comma x 2, and define a metric d 1 x by as one metric is, or here x I 1 x I 2. So, let it be x I 1 x I 2. So, one way metric is defined as x I 1 is square x I square raised to the power half. Another metric is defined as the mod x I 1 plus mod x I 2. What he says is these two metrics will be equivalent metrics. It means, if we are able to find alpha and beta where d 1 and d 2 satisfy this condition, then our problem is solved. Now, by the previous result, Cauchy's inequality, if I take n equal to 2, so what we get, mod x I 1 plus mod x I 2 square is mod x I 1 plus mod x I 2 square is less than equal to 2 mod x I 1 square plus mod x I 2 square, is it not? So, take the power half both side. So, what you get, if we take the power half, this will go and this power will come. Now, is it not this one is under root 2 d 1 x by, is it not? And what is this? This is equal to d 2. So, one way it is true, beta comes out to root 2. Okay. Other way round is obviously true. Other way, since mod x I 1 plus mod x I 2, this square power half, is it not always less than equal to this? Clear? Because if I square both side, then this side will be more. So, basically this is equal to what? This is equal to d 1 x by, and this is equal to. So, combine these two. Okay. So, what we get? We get that d 2 lies between d 1 and d 2 with a suitable constant. Therefore, this metric, these two metrics are equivalent metrics. Okay. And in fact, we can define any other metric on R 2 or R n, all will be equivalent, that we will see. Clear? So, this is another example which is interesting. Then third example is denote the smallest r where b belongs to closure of this, and here you have to find the maximum value. What is the determine the smallest r so that by belongs to closure. What is the closure property? The closure ball set of this such that distance between less than equal to r. So, you find the maximum, because it will give the maximum of this sin t minus cos t, and t belongs to over this interval. So, you find the maximum value, and maximum value will come out to be root 2. Okay. So, this I think is, now there are few more problems which I have written, you can just have a look and that do it later on. Okay. This BAB is not separable, this is one problem. Then another problem is the boundedness of a sequence does not imply the Cauchyness and convergence, and boundary of the point like this. Okay. So, these problems you can just have a look. Okay. And then last problem is this, that is definition which I have already discussed. Thank you. Okay. Thanks. ठीक.